Alright, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone that rule well, that taught us His truth, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel, whether it be scattered. This is Brother Yakal coming with another lesson, and Lord will be edifying. And today's lesson, I'm going to address this. And in a way, I can't, the so-called white man is a liar, And basically, there's been a drama series on BBC1 in the UK, all right, and it's called King and Conqueror. Now, I didn't really watch it because sometimes you get angry because everything that our history, our people, the white man has whitewashed it. All right, he's whitewashed our history, and he's actually adopted our names, pretended to be our people, etc. All right, especially in the period time that we call the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. And I'll play the trailer for you, King and Conqueror. Now, this is Israelite history, and I'm going to prove it. All right, because there's this a video that I saw, and this white guy here actually addressed all of the the negative comments, people saying it's woke, because in this drama series, it is about William the Conqueror, all right, coming to England and fighting King Harold in 1066, all right, which was called the Battle of Hastings. And the reason I'm doing this is to set the record straight, because we're in the era of truth, and the so-called white man has made a lot of lies, and those lies have really inflated their heads. They actually think that they're better than everyone else. They can't even go out in the sun without factor 50, but they think they're better than anyone else. Now, this drama series is about the Battle of Hastings and the build-up to it. It's called King and Conqueror. So I'll give you a little overview here. This is on Google. The Battle of Hastings was fought on October the 14th in 1066 between the English forces of King Harold, all right, King Harold Godwinson, and the invading Norman army led by William the Conqueror. And they both were Israelites, They both were so-called black men. Harold took a strong defense position on a hilltop, but after a long and hard-fought day, William's feigned retreat tactics drew the English out of their position, leading to the Norman victory and Harold's death. All right, this battle resulted in the Norman conquest of England and marked a significant turning point in English history. Now, this is our history, but as I said, this devil has whitewashed, our history. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. All you need to do, because now we're in the era of truth, all right? The Heavenly Father said, what's in the dark shall come to light. They can't hide things anymore. So if you just put when blacks ruled Europe, all right, when blacks ruled Europe, they will always talk about, the Moors, right? All right, and the word Moor, this is a generic term which means black. But if you put when blacks ruled Europe and click on images, there you go. You see all the history there. This is Middle Age art, all right, and this is the kind of bullshit that they did. All right. they basically whitewashed the images. So the House of Stuart, which was, King James, his son Charles the First. Then you have Charles II, and Charles II's nickname was the Black Boy King. So how can he be a so-called white man? All right, but when we fell out of power, all right, and there was different reasons why we fell out of power, and really it was the Heavenly Father taking us out of power. All right, they whitewashed all these images, but you can see here, and there's one white historian that said, "Oh, these were black slaves, and and the kings were all black. No, the kings were all white in the Middle Ages, but they had black slaves. And when the kings went out to battle or went on an excursion, the black slaves would dress up in the king's garments and the crown, and people would take pictures, portraits of them. I mean, if you believe that, you might as well believe in Pegasus and the flying horse. All right, these are actual middle-aged pictures of us ruling over crackers. Okay, there you go. All right, see, black royalty, Jews ruled Europe, and back then our people actually knew who they were. All right, they knew that they were from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that's the reason why you have the term for the Israelites that ruled England. All right, in the Middle Ages, they were called Anglo-Saxons. All right, and there's a good article here where it says Anglo-Saxon Israel. British is a other meaning for man of covenant. All right, man of covenant. Covenant means an agreement. All right, promises. All right, Anglo-Saxons are black. I'm guessing you don't know. It means angelic son of Isaac. And that's what the term Anglo-Saxon means, angelic sons of Isaac. Because who are we from? We're from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. All right. Here you go, kids, keep going. That's why their names were black or brun, which means brown. But you think that is you? All right. LOL. No, that's not you, but here is the reason why your people do stuff like this. All right, so he's basically saying the reason why these average white people believe that William the Conqueror and King Harold was white, all right, is because of what he quotes, and he quotes Micah 2:2. And let's get that. And he's absolutely right. And we're going to prove it, man. So this was a series that is still on BBC, and in that series, King and Conqueror, and I'm going to show you the actual the trailer. In it, you watch the trailer and watch the program, and you see many blacks that are cast in that film, in that series. And now they're saying it's woke and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. The reason why they do that is because the people that make these dramas, they know that that's our history. In 1066, the so-called white man, woman, and child were living in the woods. All right? They were not living anywhere near our settlements. We despise them. All right? Because when the Roman Empire, all right, was at its pomp, most of the Roman emperors, all the way up into Domitian, they were all crackers, all so-called white people, Edomites in the Bible. That's what they're called. And basically, in that period of time, we couldn't stand them. All right? That's why our empire is called the Holy Roman Empire, where we instituted Christianity. The average white person, all right, whites are in power now, and they are in power. All right? How many white countries are believe in God? Hardly any. Hardly any of them believe in God, man. You know? They don't believe in the Lord at all. All right? Now he quotes Micah 2:2. I'll start from Micah 2:1. All right. Woe unto them that devise iniquity, sin upon sin, and work evil upon their beds. And this is you so-called white people. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. See, the Lord gave them the power. Remember, Job 9:24 said, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And there's no other race on the planet Earth that has done more wickedness, who's committed more genocides on the planet Earth than so-called white people, who are called Edomites in the Bible. Right now, in our homeland, those people in Gaza, all right, it's clearly a genocide that they're doing it. And and these people are in tents and stuff, and they're still bombing them. Who's doing that? It's not our people doing that. All right, it's Edomites that are doing it, because those people that are in our land, all right, Jewish people, they're Edomites as well. All right, verse 2, they covet fields and take them by violence, and that's what happened. All right, when our empire in Europe started to wane, all right, and houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that's what they've done. They've oppressed. They basically took over Europe in what they call the Renaissance period, which was the 1400s to the 1700s. It wasn't a quick takeover. It took basically 3 centuries to get the majority of Israelites out of Europe. And that's why this article is very good, because he actually quotes that. Okay? He quotes that. All right. So now let's watch. Let's see where I can find this King and Conqueror. And, you know, the reason why I'm doing this lesson is to set the record straight, number one. But also, it's good for me because sometimes, like me, I get a lot of, you know, I've got an illness, I get a lot of pain and stuff. And I have to distract my mind. You know, I have to distract my mind, you know, so I can get my mind off the pain. And, you know, a couple of nights ago, it took me so long to get out of pain. And I thought about it and I was like, damn, you know what I mean? It's taking me so long. Now I'm tired, you know. So the best way to remedy that for me is to do a lesson. You know, it distracts you, keeps you focused, and it gets my mind off the pain. Now I'm going to show this trailer for King and Conqueror. All right, and have a pay close attention, because you're going to see scenes in there, and you're going to have a couple of so-called black men in there. They know that this period of time it was our people, and when you look at the language and what they're saying, and you know, they're praying, you know, and this, that, and the other. And we're going to not just look at this King and Conqueror, all right? We're going to look at many films that many of our people don't know is their history, all right? So we're going to look at different films, all right, which are period pieces, all right, historical films, that is about our people, because they've just whitewashed everything. All right, so let's go with the King and Conqueror trailer. Let me click on it now.
Power is like a fire. Unchecked, it will destroy everything.
Now, we're bound together. Normandy and Wessex together. Maybe you and I are better than all of them. The devil is coming. I cannot let William even think that he can take the crown. Are you with me or against me?
England will not accept him. Harold's claim to the throne is a lie.
There you go. You see? A black man in the king's court. When in reality, all these people are black. Everyone, you know? Every single one. Even the servants that we had, they were our people. White people were not in power in the Middle Ages in Europe at all. All right? Even foreigners that came from different parts of Europe were treated better than whites in this period of time. And these people that make these period pieces, they know it. And that's the reason why they put in black people in there. Now, it's getting a lot of white people mad. But in a way, I can't blame them, because they've been lied about history. All right, they've lied about history. They've whitewashed our history. All right, so they absolutely know the truth. All right, about this period of time in what we call the Middle Ages or the so-called Dark Ages. All right, let's continue.
Power isn't given. Power is taken.
I am the true King of England. Are you with me?
We could have had peace.
Today we take victory.
Where's the victory? The whole world burns to achieve it.
See though, so that so that's the trailer, right? That's the trailer, and people are getting mad about it. Now, there's a historian here, a guy that actually speaks a lot of sense about this. All right, I want you to listen to what he says, and it's true. But the reality is this: they don't understand that they've been lied to about history. But when they actually see videos like this, and they see it, and they see the truth presented, and they see all the dark images of the kings and the queens in the Middle Ages, they still don't want to accept it. You know why? Because they think they're better than us and everyone else. When that's a fallacy, man. Okay? That's a total lie. All right? Total lie. They're not better than us. They're not better than anyone else. The best thing they're best at is lying, and lying about history. Even in the Roman Empire, at the end of the Roman Empire, most of the Roman emperors were black. You know, Septimius Severus, Marcus Aurelius, the 5 good Roman emperors, all dark-skinned people. That's why when you look at their statues, all the noses are broken off. That's another way of trying to, fool mankind to say that, oh yeah, it was us. All right, now I want you to listen to this. This guy speaks a lot of truth.
Open an award-winning ISA today.
All right. I'll let this advert play. You know, and pay attention to what he says. And he's, he talks a lot of sense here. All right.
The BBC new drama series, historical drama series, about the events leading up to the Battle of Hastings and the Norman invasion of England. I've read a whole heap of nonsense from so-called critics, so-called historians attacking this show, so I really want to come to its defence. Now, I need to, possibly as a bit of background, tell you that 25 years ago I did work for the BBC, but I worked for the BBC in news and not drama, just in case anybody looks at my CV. But the first thing I wanted to say is that historical fiction is fiction first, history second. It always has been. I'm sure that there were people who attacked William Shakespeare for his historical dramas, saying that's not completely accurate. The point is that fiction, drama, needs a structure, it needs an approach to characters and plot that doesn't always chime with being absolutely historically accurate. So while historical drama is rooted in the history, it nevertheless has to create compelling characters linked to a plot that pulls the viewer, listener, user, whatever, along. That is the nature of historical fiction. I wish some historians would understand that. There is a difference between a historical drama and a documentary. I even saw one historian on Twitter today saying, don't watch this, watch that. And the that in question was a documentary. Fine, go and watch a documentary if you can't handle a drama. Now, I may have some quibbles about the quality of the script, but let's be clear about one thing. Some people have been saying, oh, the dialogue wasn't authentic. What the hell does that mean? You can't have the whole damn thing in Old English and Norman French, for God's sakes, unless you're Mel Gibson, and of course you want to do the history of the Bible, for example, in Latin and Aramaic. Fine, knock yourself out. I, Claudius, back in 1976... was attacked by the critics for exactly the same thing. And the BBC, of course, made that series. It was attacked for having Romans talk in a naturalistic, modern way. The point is, that's how Romans or Saxons or Normans spoke at the time. They didn't talk in some kind of mannered speech. A lot of this, by the way, has come from the Victorians or the Georgians in terms of how they've portrayed ancient history on stage. I can assure you that your average Norman, Saxon, whether elite or peasant, spoke pretty naturally, much as people do today. And if we're going to convey the events of those times, we might as well use modern dialogue. In fact, I'd go for slang and the whole thing. Then, of course, we have those viewers who cannot abide to see anybody black, Asian or LGBT on their TV screen. That's their real problem. They're just not courageous enough to admit it or honest enough to admit it. Instead of which they say, it's woke nonsense. Well, you know, just come out and say you're the sort of person who gritted their teeth all the way through Nkuti Gatwa as Doctor Who. You just don't like black people unless it's the black and white minstrel show being on your TV screens. I'm sick to death of this insidious racism that's creeping into so-called TV criticism. In terms of this woke nonsense argument, I'm pretty sure that most of these people have never read a history book on Saxon or Norman, England, France, whatever. What they're really falling back on are Victorian representations of Saxon and Norman England, all the stuff about the Norman yoke and Saxon England being some, you know, merry utopia of old England, all that sort of nonsense. That's what they want to see on screen, which chimes with their flag waving and so on. It's a very Victorian and even 20th century view of Saxon and Norman England. One thing it fails to do is put England in a much broader geographic and geopolitical perspective. So, you know, England was very much part of a wider European scene. I mean, all these nobles, the Normans, the Vikings, the Saxons, were all bloody related to each other. They were all cousins.
That's a great point. They were all related. They were all Israelites. All right. The Byzantine Empire. All right. The Byzantine Empire was in the eastern part of Europe. All right. Turkey and so forth. And if you look at Turkey as well. All right. You had in 1453. All right, here you go. It says Africans in Turkey. We were not Africans, we're Israelites. As of 2017, there were 1.5 million Africans living across Turkey, with 1 in 4 residencies residing in Istanbul. People with African heritage celebrating the calf. So you have to understand that they had an empire called the Ottoman Empire, which was Turkish people, white Muslims, who conquered us in 1453. That was the first conquest of Israelites in Europe. That was in 1453. That was the start of our empire going down. And another reason why our empire went down was because there was a plague. All right. Is it over here? I think it is. There was something called the Black Death. All right. Let me Google it here. The Black Death. All right, and it started in 1348. This was the start of the Heavenly Father getting rid of us in Europe. The Black Death arrived in England in June 1348. All right, marking a devastating turning point in history. All right, and it was a turning point in history because it killed over 200 million of our people in Europe in 7 years, man. As it spread rapidly through the British Isles and Europe, this bubonic plague, all right, that's another name for it, caused by the Yersinia pestis bacteria, was transmitted by fleas on rats and caused severe symptoms, including painful swollen limnoids, all right, fever and headache. All right, the plague was, all right, terrifyingly deadly with a high mortality rate that killed an estimated 1.5 million people in England and millions across Europe, and it was only killing our people. So that was the start of our empire going down, and this is even before the Ottomans conquered us in Turkey. All right, significantly impact the continent's population and socio-economic structures. After this pandemic, that's when we started to, because of the labor shortage, we started to civilize whites. All right, clean them up because they lived in the woods at that time. We cleaned them up. We gave them positions in our kingdoms. All right, and that was the time where they were going up and we were going down. All right, we were in power but going out of power, and they will start to come up. That's why they call that period the Renaissance period. All right, okay, and they just don't like the fact, like this guy says, they just don't want to see anyone black in these drama series. But you can understand it because number one, they hate us, and number two, all right, they want to think that they're superior because of recent history. And you have to blame historians. The historians have lied about this. All right, but the Lord said what's the dark shall come to light. So let's keep going.
And they were linked in various ways to the Byzantine Empire, for example, in the east, the Abbasid Caliphate. I'm sure it would come as a horrific shock to some of these anti-woke people to know that there was a Saxon king, Offa, the king of Mercia, who actually put an Arabic inscription on one of his coins as a kind of imitation of an Arabic dirham because he wanted to aspire to the wealth of the caliphate. So the whole argument around dialogue, do these people really want hey nonny no and I prithee all over their historical dramas? I certainly don't. In terms of what a historical drama is, it's a drama first and then history. But yes, it has to be grounded in the history. But so far, what I've seen of King and Conqueror, few quibbles on the quality of the script, but I think the drama has been good, the acting has been solid, and it's an interesting take on the period. It is not intended to be a documentary. And what I hear from some of these so-called historians is really just special pleading. They're positioning themselves, they think, to be consultants on future TV historical dramas. Let me assure you, TV has a long memory. They will not be forgiven for some of the tripe that they've put on social media attacking this and other shows. It doesn't make them darlings for the TV industry, so pack it in. So in short, I think King and Conqueror is a solid historical drama. It's very watchable. It's got some great actors in it. And I think it should be given time to live and breathe on our screens. And you know, if we keep attacking this kind of content, then TV is not going to make more of it. Because if there's this level of opprobrium every time a historical drama comes out, well, TV execs will say, why bother? Let's just put Strictly Come Dancing on. Is that the victory that some historians want? Now, just a final plug for something I've done. I've recently written a book on the Knights Templar. Here it is. So if you want to read about the Templars, get that book. Now, that's a non-fiction book, which means that I don't expect Templar historical fiction to be absolutely true to all the facts about the Templars. You know, I know the difference between a drama and a documentary. There's a difference. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do leave your comments below, whether they are supportive or bilious. I don't really care. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, by the way, the Knights Templar were our people, all right? All the knights of the Middle Ages, all right? All right. All of the knights were our people, all right? Okay, so they weren't you so-called white people, all right? There you go, man. You know? Okay. Othello. all right, which was done by William Shakespeare. Look at the image, black, all right, black nobility. There you go, all right. This was this is still in Germany today, in Magdeburg, all right. This is Saint Maurice. Now, Saint Maurice was in the Roman Empire. He was a Roman soldier, and he refused to kill Christians. Him and his whole legion. All right. So I think the Roman Emperor at the time sent other soldiers to kill him and his legion, and they never lifted a finger. They bowed their heads, and they were killed for their beliefs.